Hi, welcome to the Menopause Fit Taster Session. Menopause Fit is a life-changing programme for women experiencing perimenopausal, menopausal and postmenopausal symptoms.
I'm Claire and this is Sam, and during our time with you today we are going to go through the 34 known symptoms of menopause so that you can know if some of the things you're experiencing are menopause related. We're going to give you some great simple tips that you can start to implement straight away to help you to relieve some of the symptoms. And we're also going to introduce you to the Menopause Fit programme, how it works, and invite you to work with us further.
So just to tell you a little bit about ourselves, I'm Sam and I'm a therapist, nutritionist and fitness instructor. I've worked in the health and wellness industry for about 22 years now, and the majority of that time I've worked with women who are going through various stages of the menopause. It's a subject that is close to my heart. My mum had a difficult time when she went through the menopause, and as a teenage daughter I wasn't aware of what she was going through or had any idea of how to support her. It was a very stressful, emotional time, and I know she didn't have any support, which is why it's important to me that women feel supported and they understand what's happening to them, so they're less anxious, worried or afraid, and better equipped to deal with their symptoms, and also to reach out and ask for help if they're struggling.
So I'm a senior yoga and meditation teacher and a breath coach. After a career in investment banking 13 years ago, I took voluntary redundancy and retrained as a yoga teacher. And so I've been teaching now for over 10 years. I'm 47, and for a good few years my periods were all over the place and I just felt like something was different. I just didn't feel the same anymore, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. Then 3 years ago I began to get full-blown perimenopausal symptoms. So brain fog, memory problems, hot flushes, night sweats, dry skin and hair, dry vagina, mood swings, change in my libido, digestive problems, insomnia, low energy, heart palpitations and itchy skin. And you might notice that's not even 34, but it's a lot. So I was really experiencing a lot and I really felt like I needed support.
So why Menopause Fit?
Both Sam and I have been teaching women who are around the age of the menopause transition for some years now, so we already had a good idea of what women were experiencing. But when we started to dig deeper, we found things were actually worse than we realised. So we're sharing some statistics with you now. We found 80% of women experience notable changes during the menopause. Of course, that means 20% of women don't, which might be great for them, but it might also be that they don't realise that some of the things they are experiencing are menopause related. We also found that 50% of working women find work difficult because of the menopause. That's half of us, so that's really huge. And 10% of women actually give up work altogether because of the menopause, which is really awful. It shouldn't have to happen. We also found that 10 to 12% of menopausal women take HRT, which we were a little bit surprised. We thought the figure would be higher, but it wasn't. And in the UK, the average age for a woman to reach menopause is 51. And according to the Samaritans, the age group with the highest suicide rate amongst women is 50 to 54. So it's really clear that women need support and they need help at this time of their lives.
So Meg Matthews has been very vocal about her menopause experience, and we want to share a quote with you from her because we think it reflects many women's experience of having multiple symptoms that we don't realise are menopause related. So we go to the doctors with our varied complaints and the doctor doesn't connect the dots, and when this happens we can very easily feel like we're going mad. So Meg says, "My experience with the menopause began long before I even knew it was menopause. I didn't know the menopause could cause the things I was feeling. I was experiencing terrible insomnia. I had so many aches and pains. My anxiety was through the roof. I had one of the worst menopause experiences that I know of, yet I had no idea it was the menopause. Nothing had set me up for this. There was no information available, and I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't know if I had some disease or arthritis, or if I had to go to see a neurologist because of the awful headaches I was having. I honestly thought I was going mad."
So it's clear that it would be really helpful for women to know what the 34 symptoms of menopause are. So we're going to run through them with you now. When we present this live, we ask women to raise their hands if they've experienced a symptom that we're mentioning. And even though Sam and I aren't with you in the room with you today, we were going to raise our hands when a symptom comes up that we're experiencing, so that you can know that we're going through this together.
Hot flushes are one of the most commonly known and talked about symptoms. They're a sudden feeling of heat, which can spread through the body, or they can be a cold flush or a mix of both. I know Claire experienced cold flushes.
Irregular periods. So it's a myth that our periods will get further and further apart as we approach menopause. Actually, our periods could get further apart, but they could get closer together, or they just could be all over the place. So irregular periods.
Night sweats. Now these are hot flushes that we have at night when we're asleep in bed. We may end up waking up absolutely soaking wet through. Or you may find that you get really hot, so you're kicking the covers off, and then you're getting really cold, and then you're putting the covers back on, and you're finding it really difficult to actually find a comfortable temperature so you can fall asleep and have a good night's sleep.
Memory lapses. So these can be from the minor to the extreme, forgetting where things are, forgetting why we've walked into a room, forgetting our PIN numbers. And it's very common for women to actually feel like they possibly have early onset dementia, but it's not early onset dementia, it's the memory problems. Verbal memory loss is really, really common, so forgetting the word for something, or even forgetting people's names. I know I forgot a friend I've known for 30 years and somehow couldn't find her name. So when that happens, it is part of the menopause.
Incontinence. So there are two types of incontinence: stress incontinence and urge incontinence. Now the changes in hormones actually affect the lining of urethra, and it becomes a lot thinner. Stress incontinence is a weakening of the pelvic floor muscles, and this can lead to urinary leakage. And also the urge incontinence is where you've got either an overactive or an irritated bladder, and you find yourself rushing to the toilet more and more frequently.
Changes in libido. So it's commonly thought that a woman's libido lowers around the time of the menopause, but actually a woman's libido could lower or it could go up, and some women actually report that they experience changes in their sexual preferences at this time. So things could change in all different directions, not just your libido going down.
Vaginal dryness. So tissues in and around the vagina become thinner and easily irritated, and this can lead to painful intercourse, but it can also lead to discomfort while exercising or even just simply walking. It's not something that you need to put up with. There are things that we can use to actually help make our vaginas much more comfortable.
Urinary tract infections, so related to the same thing, UTIs and bladder infections. Sometimes women will start to experience UTIs, bladder infections, when they haven't ever really experienced them before, or sometimes women just seem to get an increased frequency of UTIs, so it seems like they're getting a bladder infection after bladder infection. And again, this is all to do with the hormonal changes, and there are things we can do about it.
Panic disorder. So this could be repeated panic attacks and a higher level of anxiety that leads to frequent panic attacks. And we know that some of our members have already said that when they first experienced a panic attack, they were very frightened, they actually thought what they were experiencing was a heart attack. Panic disorder is not something that should be put up with, and there is help available. Some women experience like a physical weakness, a shortness of breath, and heart palpitations. Some have said they feel like their heart is just beating so strongly it feels like it's going to be out of their chest. So it's a really scary experience.
Mood swings. So your mood can become very changeable around this time. So you might find that you're in a really good mood and then suddenly you're in a really angry mood. Maybe you're then in a really sad mood. You might find yourself crying for no reason. Often with the mood swings, we might not even notice them so much ourselves, but the mood swings are things that people around us might notice. So I'm thinking if you have a partner, your partner might notice, your children, your colleagues at work, your friends, other family members, even your pets might start to notice that your mood is really changeable, and it can be quite hard to live with.
bloating, so painful swelling of your stomach, could be down to gas or water retention, and it's quite a common symptom, but it can be very, very uncomfortable, very painful, and embarrassing as well if you're then suddenly releasing gas. But there are things nutrition-wise that we can do to help with this.
Weight gain. So lots of women report around this time that they're eating the same as they were before and suddenly they're gaining weight, or they might even be eating less than they were before and they're either gaining weight or their weight isn't changing. And also we might notice around this time that we store fat in different areas of the body than we used to. So for example, many women find that they suddenly start to store fat around their belly, which they didn't used to before. And this can be a sign of visceral fat, which is fat that's not just the fat that you can see on the outside that you can pinch with your skin, but also fat that is around the organs potentially. So it can be an issue, it can be related to other health issues. So again, there are things that we can do about it, and we'll be sharing them with you on the programme.
Digestive problems. So you may experience indigestion, acid reflux, stomach cramps, constipation, and even for some women they experience diarrhea. The changes in our hormones are actually disrupting our healthy gut bacteria and can lead to some of these unwanted symptoms. So if you're experiencing these and think, well, I haven't changed my diet, I don't know what it is, menopause and the change in hormones can actually be causing your symptoms.
Sleep disorders. So this is different from insomnia in that it's when your other symptoms are disturbing your sleep. So for example, your night sweats are waking you up at night, or you're feeling so anxious that you're finding it difficult to go to sleep, or the anxiety, the thoughts racing around your head are waking you up in the night. So this is when other symptoms that are due to the menopause are now disturbing your sleep.
Insomnia is another symptom, so just the inability to fall asleep or to find your sleep, some people say. Or if you wake up in the night, it's the inability just to fall back to sleep, even though you may feel tired and fatigued. And often the type of sleep that you are having is often of poor quality, and then that could lead to difficulty concentrating, memory lapses during the day, and just a feeling of fatigue.
Joint pain. So joint pain is really common around the time of the menopause. Commonly, women will report that they've got pain in their hips, in their elbows, in their wrists, but really it could be anywhere in the body, basically anywhere you've got a joint. Things like carpal tunnel, which is wrist pain, trigger fingers, I think they call it gaming thumb as well. These kind of complaints also start to appear around the time of the menopause. And again, it is because of the menopause, but there are things we can do about it. There are things we can do to help.
Difficulty concentrating is another one. You may have heard it referred to as brain fog. Just this foggy sensation where you just can't think clearly. It's very normal, especially in perimenopause, and it can also be affected or made worse by disrupted sleep, fatigue, insomnia. But the good news is that we can do things physically and nutrition-wise that will actually help relieve brain fog and difficulty concentrating.
Osteoporosis and the precursor to osteoporosis, which is called osteopenia. You might have heard of this condition described as brittle bones. So osteoporosis literally translates as the bone becoming more porous. It's something that happens to all of us as we age, but in particular during the menopause, women will naturally lose more bone density. It is something that we can do something about. So before it happens, we can change our exercise and our nutrition so that it doesn't happen. Even if we have started to develop osteopenia and osteoporosis, it can be reversed as well. It's something that, although we might not experience it now, when we're older, if we do have brittle bones and we fall over and we break something, it can have really huge implications to our health and our quality of life. So it's something really important to look at now so that we can make changes now, and we will be looking at it on the course, so that we don't develop osteoporosis later in life.
Spinning or dizziness. Some women have reported that they actually feel like their head is spinning, and some even, as Claire was saying, a friend of hers even experiences menopausal vertigo, which is just quite a scary experience when it does happen. It's down to, again, the changes in hormones, but they're actually known to affect the inner ear, which is critical for our sense of balance. So we'll be talking to you about this more in detail during the actual full Menopause Fit programme, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention as one of the many symptoms in case you were unaware that that sensation that's affecting you was anything to do with menopause.
Muscle tension. So this is separate from joint pain in that it's really a general feeling of stiffness. So I know lots of women contact me in their 50s and say, I want to take up yoga because I've realised I can no longer get down onto the floor and back up again. Maybe they want to play with a child or a grandchild, or maybe they just want to get to their lower cupboards and suddenly they've realised they just can't get down there anymore. They've really stiffened up. So again, this is something that's related to the changes in our hormones, and it is something that we can do something about.
Anxiety. Now this is probably quite a more well-known one, but you might not always recognise it yourself. You just may be feeling more stressed. But actually an increase in anxiety is very common amongst menopause and perimenopausal women. The fluctuating hormones, the feeling of a hot flush coming on can actually turn into an anxiety attack, and the disrupted sleep really doesn't help with this. But there are some great tools that we have available that will help to reduce your anxiety.
Headaches. So you might know that headaches can be hormonal. Some women get headaches around their periods. So again, we can have hormonal headaches in the menopause. However, headaches can also be caused by the muscle tension that is caused by the menopause. So if your shoulders and your neck and your jaw are all tense, then you're much more likely to be experiencing headaches. And again, of course, there is something we can do about it.
Fatigue is often reported, especially to us from our members, that they just don't have the motivation that they once had. They're really low on energy, they're sluggish, and that's all sort of exacerbated by disrupted sleep, night sweats, insomnia. So it's a bit of a vicious circle, but it's important that we do get our energy back, and there are ways and means available to us that we can actually help reduce fatigue.
And depression. So often women feel or start to suffer with depression around this time of life, and we hear from many of our members actually that they've been offered antidepressants and it's not been explained to them that it is hormonally related. So it's thought that because our moods can be swinging around because of the changes in the hormones, that sometimes we might go into a low mood and just we're not able to pick ourselves up out of that low mood. We've got stuck down there. So again, there are things that we can do to help with this. And I think knowing that it's menopause related, knowing that it's hormonally related can also be really helpful.
And some of the lesser known symptoms that you may be experiencing, one of which is a change in body odour. So you may get this unfamiliar smell coming from your body. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It is down to the hormonal changes.
Yeah, it might be an undesirable smell in my case, but it is very normal and it is very common. Tingling in extremities. This is another one that, although it's lesser known, it can be quite common. Tingling in the hands, fingers, the feet and the toes can be relatively common.
An irregular heartbeat. Again, this can be quite scary if you've never had this experience before, but just suddenly feeling like heart palpitations or fluttering sensation can be quite scary, but it's important to know that this is one of the symptoms.
Dry hair, loss of hair and thinning hair. So for some of us, the drying of the hair was actually quite a welcome symptom. If you are someone like me who's lived life with very, very oily hair, actually dry hair was quite welcome, but losing hair and thinning hair can be very unwelcome, and there are things we can do to help with it.
And also, just like our hair, our nails can also be affected by the change in hormones. You may find your nails have become much more brittle and break more easily. Again, nutritionally, there are things that we can do to help with the hair loss and the brittle nails.
And breast pain. So I think, again, this is something that we probably as women know something about, because it's very common before we get our periods or during our periods to have breast tenderness and breast pain. So we know that breast tenderness and pain can be hormonally related. But during the menopause, when the hormones are all over the place, this can get much more erratic, it can get much more intense. The feeling of tenderness and pain can be really very debilitating. And again, knowing that it's menopause related and there are things we can do to help can be really helpful.
Electric shock sensation. very unfamiliar one to us before we started our research into menopause symptoms. It can feel like an elastic band being pinged against your skin or being flicked. And we know one of our members reported to us that just as she was dozing off, she suddenly felt like this buzz, this shock that would wake her just as she was trying to go to sleep. And that is a menopausal symptom, electric shock sensation.
And she was really reassured actually to know that it was something that's common and part of the menopause, because obviously that could be very scary. So allergies. Now, allergies are something we might experience before the menopause, but due to the hormonal changes, we can find that our allergies either get worse or we become allergic to things we weren't allergic to before, or in fact our allergies could decrease. So it could go in all different directions, but changing in allergies is another symptom of menopause.
Burning tongue. Now, I certainly hadn't heard of this before studying the menopause.
No, me neither.
But burning tongue is apparently a symptom, a lesser known symptom, but if it's a symptom that you have experienced or that you are experiencing, it's important and reassuring to know that it is a symptom of menopause and should hopefully pass as you travel through your menopause.
Itchy skin. So itchy skin is, again, one of those symptoms that can be on a real spectrum. So it could be from just feeling like there's a tickle on your skin every now and then. In fact, it's been reported that many women feel like there's a piece of cotton tickling their skin. Quite frequently look for the piece of cotton and it's not there, which is something that I experience quite a lot. But at the other end of the spectrum, some women feel like their whole body is crawling with insects under the skin, and it can be really debilitating to have that level of itchiness going on. Again, it's something that we can do something about. You don't have to put up with it.
So what will help? We want to share with you now a few tips from our program that you can implement right away. They're easy things that you can do to start feeling better and improve your symptoms. At the end of this short section, we'll give you the link to sign up for the full Menopause Fit program, which will give you immediate access to begin the program so you can start to understand and manage your symptoms and begin to feel really positive about this stage in your life. And we understand how busy life can be, and that's why the program has been designed in easy bite-sized pieces that can fit into your week. But importantly, we found, especially from our members, that it's the accountability and support that is built into the program that keeps them on track that has been really vital in their success. So I want to talk to you now about improving our digestive health, things that we can do that will help with several of those symptoms. So it's vital that we look after our gut health. We have trillions of gut microbes living mainly in our large intestine. And our gut is home to around 70% of our immune cells. So you can understand why it's so important that we look after our gut microbes to help keep us healthy and well. So it's important that we feed them what they like. And some of the things that they like is fibrous foods. So I'm talking about fibre from vegetables, fruit, legumes, whole grains, pulses, and nuts and seeds. We know, for example, flaxseed is really important if you suffer from constipation. And if you have white bread and white pastas and white rice, actually swapping these to whole grain varieties can actually really help. Not only feed your gut microbes, but fibre also keeps you fuller for longer. So it can also aid in weight loss if that's something that's important for you. Fibre is also hugely important when it comes to more serious illnesses, and it can actually reduce our risk of bowel cancer by quite a huge percentage. It also helps reduce our risk of heart disease, and it improves our blood sugar levels. Increasing healthy fats. Now, when we start to put on weight, especially around the middle, women often switch to low-fat products. This is where we go wrong. Fat is so important. So going low fat is the opposite of what we need at this time of life. Healthy fats are essential for brain health, so helping relieve some of those symptoms of brain fog, memory lapses. And things like full fat, natural yogurt, for example, will help improve your healthy gut flora and ease symptoms like bloating, cramps, and wind. It's also high in calcium for bone strength. And Greek yogurt also is especially high in iodine, which is important for thyroid function and a healthy metabolism. So don't be afraid of dairy products. Dairy products are actually great for us at this time of life. So if you enjoy cheese, especially good quality cheese, feel free to welcome it back into your diet. And if you're a vegan or dairy intolerant, there's also some really great alternatives available, especially a nice coconut yogurt that actually still contains all those lovely bacteria that will help feed your gut microbes. Another thing that we can do that sometimes we might overlook is to increase our exposure to sunlight, especially in the winter. We get vitamin D from sunlight, and if you're fair-skinned, we need about 20 to 30 minutes a day of light exposure, whereas if you're darker-skinned, then you may find you need about 40 to 60 minutes sun exposure. Preferably without sunglasses, but it's always to be mindful of the summer sun and practice safe sun, so we're not doing any damage to our skin. But vitamin D, when absorbed through the skin, it helps reduce symptoms such as low mood and depression. It helps us to fight off infections from bacteria and viruses. It helps to reduce fatigue and tiredness. It can also help to reduce hair loss. It can help to promote sleep. And it helps our body absorb calcium for strong bones and teeth. And it can also reduce the joint and muscle pain that you may be experiencing, because of lack of vitamin D can lead to muscle weakness and painful joints. So vitamin D is essential, and we only get a small portion of it from our food, so daylight exposure is really key.
I always feel so much better when I've been exposed to sunlight, for sure. So moving now on to movement. First, talking about weight bearing. So from the age of 30, our body's muscle mass decreases by around 3 to 8% every 10 years. And this rate of decline is even higher after the age of 60. Reduced muscle mass slows our metabolism, meaning we burn less calories. And so this is often why women might feel as though they're eating the same as before, but putting on weight. This is one of the factors. Weight bearing is also extremely important for bone density. We mentioned osteoporosis earlier, and for bone density, we need to make sure that we are bearing weight throughout the whole body. So all of our bones have a density, and they all need to weight bear so that their bone density can be increased. So it's really important to take time to look at how you exercise and see if you're weight bearing through all of your bones. So for example, if your exercise is mainly to take a brisk walk every day, that's absolutely great. That's great for your heart, and you will be weight bearing through your legs. But depending on how much weight you're carrying, you won't be weight bearing through your spine, and you definitely won't be weight bearing through your upper body. So that's something to really look at. If you find that the exercise that you regularly take is not weight bearing through all of the bones of the body, you want to see if you can add in other weight bearing so that you're loading up all parts of your body. Some exercise classes are absolutely great for weight bearing, and in this program, Sam and I will be focusing, when we share with you the exercise and the yoga videos, we're going to be focusing on weight bearing through the whole body in the course. But there are many exercise classes and even styles of yoga, I have to say, that don't prioritise weight bearing, so you may be missing out on that key part. By adding weight bearing exercises, we can reverse this age-related decline, prevent brittle bones, boost our metabolic rate, and increase our strength. So it's so important that this is something we look at and something that we start to do. Cardiovascular exercise, so that is your brisk walk, that would count to your cardiovascular exercise. This is also equally important. Studies have shown that it improves our vasomotor symptoms. So what do I mean by that, vasomotor? Those are the symptoms like hot flushes, night sweats, and also the heart palpitations. They would all fall under this category. So it's really important that, again, you look at your exercise regime through the week, what you're doing, what you get up to in your life, and make sure that at some points in your week, your heart rate is raised. So for example, if you're a yoga bunny like me, but that's all you do is like a slow paced yoga practice, then think about how you can actually add in some forms of exercise like that fast paced walk, brisk walk, that will get your heart rate going, because that's really important too. The final thing I would like to mention is stretching. We talked about before joint mobility and flexibility and how women often feel like they're really stiffening up at this time of life. So stretching is obviously going to improve joint mobility and flexibility, and it's also been shown to reduce pain and inflammation in the body. However, stretching has to be done in a focused, targeted way to make a difference. So we're not talking about the quick stretch as you get out of bed in the morning. We are talking about either going to a yoga class that really focuses on stretching or somebody who teaches exercise who really knows about stretching. And again, both Sam and I in our sessions, we're going to be really focusing on targeted, focused stretching that will make a difference. But if you're not signing up for the course or you want a tip now, really look at how much stretching you're doing, how long you're holding the stretches for, and are you stretching the muscles throughout the whole body, because this will make a real difference to how you feel. But most importantly, with exercise, as with anything in life, make sure you're having fun. Find activities that you actually enjoy, because if you enjoy them, you're much more likely to keep them up and do them regularly, and regularity is the key to improving our health and improving how we feel long term.
So during the course, you will also discover the power of many other techniques, including meditation to help reduce the stress and anxiety levels, getting you connected, listening to your inner voice or your gut instincts, and just feel much more at ease.
We're going to look at mindset, the power of our brain, and how to feel like we're taking back control of our lives.
We do mindfulness and how just by becoming aware we can create successful positive change in our lives.
Breathing techniques. We're going to be teaching you breathing techniques that have proven to help reduce the severity and the frequency of hot flushes, that reduce stress and also reduce feelings of overwhelm.
We're going to provide you with action plans to increase your awareness and enable you to create healthier habits more easily.
And support and accountability is built into the program so that we can keep you on track and keep you moving forward.
And an absolute joy and bonus is the community of like-minded women that support each other and keep each other motivated and accountable.
Yeah, and in fact, that's what our members report is really the most helpful, being in a group of women who you can just be completely honest with and who understand and know what you're going through. So we'd like to share with you a few success stories from some of our Menopause Fit members.
We're going to start with Jenny, who's 56. And she says, before Menopause Fit, I felt like I just had to get on with it and didn't consider discussing it with anyone. My reservations were my symptoms were mild, so wasn't sure if I would benefit from joining. I was surprised at some of the symptoms of the menopause, and it made me realise my symptoms weren't as mild as I thought. The best result for me was the exercises. It helped me keep fit and gave me a sense of doing something for me. Also, all the information I learnt about diet and exercise was brilliant, and being within a group of women and sharing hints and tips was great. I find I often talk more openly with friends and family about the menopause now, and that's one of the key things that the Menopause Fit program, just that ability to discuss your symptoms, to get support and encouragement from like-minded women, has been an absolute bonus for many of our members.
Bridget, 66 years old, said, I had been through the menopause, so I didn't think the program was relevant, but I decided to attend when I realised there would be information about vaginal dryness. My reservations were feeling embarrassed about sharing a very personal issue, but working with Sam and Claire was lovely. The best result for me was it spurred me on to refocus on my daily life, get back to eating healthily and doing more exercise. Keeping a gratitude journal was a very positive exercise. The free taster session gave me the feeling of hope, but the outcome is I've improved my overall health. And I think that Bridget is reflecting something that is quite common, we found is quite common, that women often think that vaginal dryness and all the associated discomfort and problems that come with that are just something that happens when we age and is something that as women we just have to put up with, but they really are not. You don't have to put up with it, and there are things you can do, and we will go through those on the course, and it's a really safe space to share and get advice on things that are really personal and do feel really personal.
Our member Julia, 53, she says, before the Menopause Fit program, I was having frequent hot flushes and suffering with anxiety. I wanted to be able to talk to other women about their experiences and become more informed. I loved working with Sam and Claire. The best result was all the information we were given. I enjoyed doing the food diary and recording my daily exercise. Knowing other women are going through the same was reassuring. We were able and willing to speak openly about our experiences, and we continued to through our Facebook group. I would definitely recommend the program. The best thing was that I signed up, a good decision. So as Julia said, just knowing other women are going through the same is really reassuring, and that's what we're about, supporting and reassuring other women that they are not alone in their experiences, and having the tools and equip them so that they know what's going on and they feel able to reach out and speak about their symptoms and get help.
Julie, 55 years old, said, I felt confused about the way my body was reacting to the menopause. I had itchy skin, hair loss, weight gain and sweats. But I was a little apprehensive about how much benefit the course would be for me. Working with Sam and Claire was a delight. The best result for me was keeping a food diary. You could see exactly what was missing from your diet. Banishing itchy skin, how much more exercise made you feel good, and also learning about gut health. It's also given me the knowledge I needed to deal with my menopausal symptoms and to look after my body in the future. I found it extremely informative for health benefits and my well-being. The best results for me, having attended the course, was knowing you're not alone, being able to ask questions and having the tools in your box to deal with menopause symptoms as they arise. So again, I think reflected in some of those quotes is that women weren't sure at first how beneficial the program would be, but then having gone on the program, they realised that they could get help with so many more of their symptoms than they realised. So many things that we think we have to put up with, we don't have to put up with. There are things that we can do and we can feel better.
Caroline, who's 55, said, I felt anxious, stressed and overweight. I had gone through all the symptoms and HRT just seemed to make it worse. You were saying everything that I wish someone had told me in the beginning of my journey into the perimenopause. I just had to sign up. I was slightly concerned about how much it was going to cost, but I could tell from the taster session that it was going to be well worth the money. I was through most of the symptoms and felt the way I was feeling was just how I was going to feel forever. Thank goodness I signed up. My body feels much better. I don't feel like I'm going mad anymore. And there's that word mad. Again, when we feel that we don't know what's going on with us, it can make us feel like we're going a bit crazy. So just being armed and knowing about the symptoms, knowing what your body is going through, it just takes away that level of fear and anxiety, just helps you feel more relaxed and at ease. And especially knowing what you can do to improve and reduce these symptoms just gives you the freedom and the confidence just to go forward and make the menopause a much more positive experience.
So getting menopause fit. You might be asking yourself now, is the menopause program right for me? Well, it is for you if you are looking to reduce joint pain and inflammation,
improve memory, coordination, balance and strength,
prevent osteoporosis and osteopenia,
improve mood and self-confidence,
get a regular boost of endorphins and fewer mood swings,
improve your ability to cope with stress and anxiety,
improve fitness and flexibility and reduce visceral fat accumulation around the belly.
Have a personal nutrition plan that works for you.
And you want to receive help, support, encouragement and accountability to keep you on track. As one of our clients, Lisa, said before the Menopause Fit program, yoga has helped me with my menopausal symptoms. It calms some of the emotional symptoms and mood swings. It also helped with the problems sleeping when I used the breathing and the meditation techniques. As some symptoms change throughout the whole menopause and also in line with women's individual monthly cycle, it is very difficult to know with real surety what the most helpful thing is. But for me, it improves my general well-being. So I wanted to share that with you because I think, like Lisa, you may already be doing things that you're finding are helpful, but are not exactly sure what's the most helpful thing and when to do it. So I wanted to reassure you that in this program, we're going to be keeping track of your symptoms and track of what we're doing, so you can really become so much more attuned to what is helping and you can make much more intelligent choices.
The Menopause Fit program is delivered over 12 weeks, and each week we focus on different topics covering all aspects of the menopause.
These are short, easy to watch videos that you can watch at any time that's convenient for you, and you can go back to them and rewatch them as many times as you like.
The topics we cover include the introduction, explaining what is the menopause and what are the symptoms. We go into much more detail and depth over the symptoms. Weight gain, personal food diaries, and taking action.
In week 2, we look at mindset, creating change, and assessing our food diaries.
Week 3, we're doing sleep, self-care, role models, and going back and asking questions on our food diaries.
In week 4, we cover joint aches, stiffness and pain, anti-inflammatory foods, and also journaling.
Week 5 is all about the microbiome, belly fat, and restoring a healthy equilibrium.
In week 6, we look at osteoporosis, weight bearing, vitamin D, and calcium.
Week 7 is about sex, pelvic floor health, vaginal dryness, incontinence, and digestion.
And in week 8, we talk about clutter clearing, out with the old and in with the new. That's about your environment and also our bodies as well. We talk about some diets that you might have heard of, including fasting.
Week 9, we're doing memory, anxiety, and improving self-esteem.
In week 10, we talk about hot flushes, triggers, night sweats, and itchy skin.
In week 11, we have a guest, the lovely Elizabeth, who is a pharmacist and an expert in essential oils, and she helps us use essential oils to help reduce our symptoms.
And in the final week, week 12, this is a week of reflection where we look at where we started, where we are now. We look to see how we can continue to grow and how we want the next chapter of our lives to look and how we can get there.
So just a quick summary, the Menopause Fit program is a life-changing, as described by our members, a life-changing 12-week program that incorporates weekly exercise and yoga videos specific to menopause, meditation, breathing and relaxation practices. You'll get the latest nutritional information and advice. You'll do personal food diary study, and you'll have access to our pharmacist and essential oil expert, Elizabeth.
We'll also have weekly question and answer sessions, so anything that comes up during each week, you can come to us with your questions and get them answered, anything you're not sure of. You'll receive help and support, encouragement and accountability. You'll be able to join our private members only group for support from like-minded women who are going through the same thing as you. And the action plans and all the information are on downloadable printouts, so you can take them with you wherever you are.
As well as the weekly topics, the information and the action plans, as part of the program you will also receive weekly exercise and yoga videos that are specifically for menopause, that focus on increasing bone and muscle strength, joint mobility, and stretching for increased flexibility. And also included is cardio to help relieve those vasomotor symptoms.
And meditation and breathing videos and audios designed to reduce anxiety, increase feelings of well-being, improve sleep, and aid digestion.
So together we will be taking small but achievable steps towards where you want to be and especially how you want to feel.
We'll be setting goals and creating action plans.
We'll be establishing new healthy habits,
developing self-belief,
building a useful set of tools,
developing a personal plan that works for you, acknowledging that we're all different,
and feeling supported and empowered to be at your very best.
So how can we continue to work together? Once you've made the decision that Menopause Fit is right for you, you can click on the invitation to join button. Now, depending on which platform you're watching, this could be next to the video, below the video, or beside the video.
As soon as you join, you'll receive immediate access to the programme, information and practices you can start to use straight away.
You'll receive a symptom tracker which you can use to start recording your symptoms. This is so you can track your progress, but it's also a great resource that you can take to your GP, and that will help them to fully understand so they can make a more informed diagnosis.
You'll also have immediate access to the members only support group, so you can start connecting and sharing with other women who understand what you're going through.
And if you're not sure and you want to ask us questions, we'd love to speak to you, so our contact details are coming up on the next screen.
So thank you for watching the taster session. We look forward to working with you and supporting you to feel emotionally, physically and mentally fit at all stages of menopause and beyond.
Thank you.